Liu Pei defeated, flight to Yuan Shao. The last chapter closed with the discovery of the girdle decree and the assembly of Tsao's advisors to consider the deposition of the Emperor Xin. Yu spoke strongly against this, saying, "Illustrious sir, the means by which you impress the world and direct the government is the command of the House of Han. In these times of turmoil and rivalry among the nobles, such a step as the deposition of the ruler will certainly bring about civil war, and is much to be deprecated." After reflection, abandoned the project. But Tung Chiang's plot was not to go unpunished. All 5 of the conspirators, with every member of their households, 700 at least, were taken and put to death at one or another of the gates of the city. The people wept at such merciless and wholesale slaughter. A secret decree in a girdle sewn, in red blood written, the emperor's own, to the staunch and faithful Tung addressed, who had saved him once when enemies pressed, and who, sore grieved at his sovereign's fate, expressed in dreams his ceaseless hate, carried misfortune and death in its train, but glory to him who died in vain. Another poet wrote of the sad fate of Wang Tizufu and his friends. Great-heartedly these signed the silken roll and pledged themselves to save their king from shame. Alas! Black death of them took heavy toll to write their names upon the roll of fame. But the slaughter of the conspirators and their whole households did not appease the wrath of the cruel minister. The Emperor's Kuei-Fei was a sister of Tung Chiang, and sword in hand, Tsao went into the palace determined to slay her also. The Emperor cherished her tenderly, the more so as she was then in the 5th month of pregnancy. That day, as they often did, the Emperor, his consort and the Kuei-Fei were sitting in their private apartments secretly talking of the decree entrusted to Tung Chiang, and asking each other why nothing seemed to have been done. The sudden appearance of the angry minister, armed as he was, frightened them greatly. "Does your majesty know that Tung Chiang conspired against me?" said he. "Tung Cho died long ago," replied the emperor. "Not Tung Cho, Tung Chiang," roared Tsao. The emperor's heart trembled, but he gasped out, "Really, I did not know. So the cut finger and the blood-written decree are all forgotten, eh?" The emperor was silent. Tsao bade his lictors seize the Kuei-Fei. The emperor interposed, asking pity for her condition. "If heaven had not interposed and defeated the plot, I should be a dead man. How could I leave this woman to work evil to me by and by?" Said the emperor, "Immure her in one of the palaces till her confinement. Do not harm her now." "Do you wish me to spare her offspring to avenge the mother?" said Tsao. "I pray that my body may be spared mutilation and not put to shame," said Tung Kuei-Fei. Tsao bade his men show her the white silk cord. The emperor wept bitterly. "Do not hate me in the realms below the 9 springs," said the emperor to her. His tears fell like rain. The Empress Fu also joined in the lament, but Tsao said, "You are behaving like a lot of children," and told the lictors to take her away and strangle her in the courtyard. In vain had the fair girl found favor in the sight of her lord. She died, and the fruit of her womb perished. Stern and calm her lord sat, powerless to save, hiding his face while tears gushed forth. When leaving the palace, Tsao gave strict orders to the keepers, saying, "Any one of the imperial relatives by marriage who enter the palace will be put to death, and the guards will share the same punishment for lack of zeal." To make more sure, he appointed 3 companies of imperial guards from his own men, and appointed Tsao hung to the command. Then said Tsao to his counselor, Yu, "The conspirators in the capital have been removed, it is true, but there are yet 2 others, Ma Tiang and Liu Pei. These must not be left." Yu replied, "Ma Tiang is strong in the west and would not be easily captured. He might be enticed to the capital by suave words and kindly praises when he would be at your mercy. The other is at Suchu, strongly posted, and not to be lightly attacked. More than this, Yuan Shao is at Quantu, and his one desire is to attack you. Any attempt on the east will send Liu Pei to him for help, and he will come here at once. Then what will you do? You are at fault, replied Tsao. Liu Pei is a bold warrior, and if we wait till he is fully fledged and winged, he will be more difficult to deal with. Shao may be strong, but he is not to be feared. He is too undecided to act. As they were discussing these things, Kuo-Chia came in, and Tsao suddenly referred the matter to him. If I attack Liu Pei, then Yuan Shao is to be feared. What do you think of it? Shao by nature is dilatory and hesitating, and his various advisors are jealous of each other. He is not to be feared. Liu Pei is getting together a new army and has not yet won their hearts. You could settle the East in one battle. This advice, being in harmony with Tsao own opinion, was pleasing to him, and he prepared an army of 20 legions to move in 5 divisions against Suchu. Scouts took the news of these preparations to Suchu. Sun Xiaqin first went to Siope to tell Quan Yu, and then went to Siope to tell Yuan Ter. The two discussed the position and decided that help must be sought. So letters were written to Yuan Shao and given to Sun Xiaqin, who went north, sought Tian Feng and asked him to take him into the presence of Yuan Shao. He was introduced and presented his letters. But Yuan Shao was of melancholy countenance, and his dress was all awry. Tian Feng said, "Why this disarray, my lord?" "I am about to die," replied Shao. "But why do you utter such words?" "I have 5 sons, but only the youngest is clever enough to understand my ideas. Now he is suffering from a disease which places his life in jeopardy. Think you that I have any heart to talk over any other affairs?" "But," said Tian Feng, "the present combination of circumstances is unparalleled. Tsao is going to attack the east, and Sucheng will be empty. You can enter it with a few volunteers and so perform good service to the emperor and save the people from sorrow. You have only to make up your mind to act. I know the chance is excellent, but I am worried and distressed and fear failure." "What are you distressed about?" said Feng. "Among my sons, only this special one is remarkable, and if anything happens, I am done." Thus it became evident that no army would be dispatched. In confirmation of this, Yuan said to Sun Xiaqin, "Go home and tell Yuan Ter the real reason, and say that if anything untoward happen, he can come over to me, and I will find some means of helping him." Tian Feng struck the ground with his staff. "It is such a pity," cried he. "Just as an unique opportunity presents itself, everything is spoiled by the illness of a child." He went out. Sun Xiaqin saw that no help could be hoped for and set out to return. When he had arrived and related what he had seen, Yuan Ter was quite alarmed and asked what could be done. "Do not be troubled, brother," said Chang Fei. "We can destroy Tsao merely by a sudden attack before his army shall have time to camp." "That would be according to the rules of war," said Yuan Ter. "You have always been a bold warrior, and that move against Liu Tai shows that you are becoming a strategist too." So he gave his younger brother command of enough men to carry out his plan. Now while Tsao was in the midst of his march toward Siope, a tornado sprang up, and the howling gale tore down one of the banners and broke the staff. Tsao called together his advisors and leaders to ask them what this portended. Sun Yu said, "From what direction was the wind at the time, and what was the color of the flag?" "The wind was from the southeast, and the flag was blue and red." "There is only one interpretation. There will be a raid on the camp tonight." Tsao nodded. At that moment Mao Qi entered and reported a similar incident. Tsao asked him the portent. "My foolishness tells me that it means a night raid," replied he. Alas for the weakness of this descendant of kings. He placed his faith on a night raid, but the broken staff of a banner warned his enemy. Why should the Ancient of Days favor the wicked? "This is evidently providence," said Tsao, and he began to make preparations. He told off 9 bodies of men to take stations, leaving only one of them as if camped while he placed the others in ambush at 8 points. There was but little moonlight as Yuan and Chang-Fei marched their respective armies toward Tsao's camp. They had left Sun Xiaqin to guard Siope. Chang-Fei, since he was the originator of the stratagem, led the way with some light horse. As they drew near, everything seemed very quiet and no one seemed moving. Then suddenly lights flashed out all about them, and Chang-Fei saw he had fallen into a trap. At once from all the 8 directions came out the ambushed troops. Chang-Fei, dashing this way and rushing that, guarding his van and protecting his rear, vainly tried to clear himself. The soldiers he had, being originally Tsao's men, soon gave in and returned to their old leader. The position became very desperate. Chang-Fei met Su Huang and engaged him, but his rear was also attacked by Yo Qin. At length he cut his own way out, and with a half-score of his men started to return to Siope. The retreat was cut off. He thought to make for Suchu, but felt certain that way was also barred. No other way seemed open, and so he made for the Manjiang Hills. As Yuan drew near the camp he intended to attack, he heard the din of battle. Then he was attacked in the rear and very soon had lost half his force. Next Tun came to attack. Thereupon Yuan bolted. He was pursued by Yuan. Presently he looked about him and found he had less than 100 men following him. He set his face in the direction of Siope, but before long he saw that place was in flames. So he changed his plan and went toward Siope. However, he found the whole countryside full of the enemy and he could not get through. So he bethought himself of the promise of Yuan Shao that he would find refuge if things went awry, and determined to go to him till he could form some other plan. Wherefore he took the Xiaqingchu road. But it also was blocked, and he went into the open country and made his way north, not without being pursued and losing the remainder of his few followers. He hastened toward Xiaqingchu, traveling 300 li a day. When he reached the city and summoned the gate, the guards asked who he was, and they told the governor, who was Yuan Shao's eldest son, Tian. Yuan was greatly surprised, but he opened the gates and went to meet Yuan, whom he treated with due consideration. Liu Pei told the story of his defeat and said he wished for harbor. He was given suitable quarters and hospitably entertained, while the young man wrote to inform his father. Then he provided an escort and sent Yuan on his journey as far as the boundary of Pingyuan. At Yechun he was met by Yuan Shao in person, with a great escort. Yuan made a humble obeisance which Yuan Shao hastened to return and said, "I have been very distressed that, on account of my son's illness, I did not come to your aid. It is great joy to see you. The one desire of my life is satisfied." Yuan replied, "The poor Liu Pei you see here has long desired to take refuge with you, but fate has hitherto denied him that privilege. Now, attacked by Tsao, my family lost, I remembered that you, General, would receive gentlemen from all sides. Wherefore I put my pride in my pocket. I trust that I may be found worthy, and one day I will prove my gratitude." Yuan Shao received him with much pleasure and treated him exceedingly well, and they both lived in Xiaqichu. After the capture of Siope, Tsao pressed on toward Suchu, which, after a short defense and the flight of the defenders, was surrendered by Xiaqing. Tsao led his army into the city, restored order and pacified the people. Next he wanted to press on to Saipi, where Kuan Yu was holding out and keeping guard of Liu Pei's family. Sun Yu said, Kuan Yu is there, in charge of his brother's family, and he will defend the city to the last. If you do not take it quickly, Yuan Shao will get it. I have always loved Kuan Yu, both for his warlike abilities and his intelligence. I would engage him to enter my service. I would rather send someone to talk him into surrender. He will not do that, said Kuo-Chia. His sense of right is too solid. I fear anyone who went to speak with him would suffer. Then suddenly a man stepped out saying, I know him slightly and I will go. The speaker was Chang Liu. Sun Yu looked at him and said, Though you are an old acquaintance, I do not think you are equal to talking over Kuan Yu. But I have a scheme that will so entangle him that he will have no alternative. He will have to enter the service of the minister. They set the fatal spring beside the lordly tiger's trail. They hide the hook with fragrant bait to catch the mighty whale. How Kuan Yu was to be entrapped will be told in the next chapter.